Okay, everybody, we're back and we're in John chapter 2, verse 23 now. It says, Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover during the feast, this is the feast of the Passover, so many believed in his name when they saw the signs which he had did. Okay, so again, keep in mind that when you look at scripture, the word believe, it's the Hebrew word shema, which means to hear and obey. It's not just I know him, or think I know him, or I believe, in my mind or whatever. It's to hear and obey. And so what does it mean to hear and obey in his name? So if you know that, if you look at, a previous study, I guess, in John chapter 1, verse 1, it says, In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yahuwah, and the Word was Yahuwah. And so to believe that he is Yahuwah in the flesh is to believe in his name. Now, the word that it's talking about there is the Torah. So, how can you believe in Yahusha if you're not obeying the Torah? Well, looking at it from the Greek way of looking at it, well, people look at it and say, well, I believe that the Torah was, okay back when, but Yahusha took care of it to where we don't have to follow it. Well, that's not what this is saying. This is saying that that if you believe in him, then then you're having to follow the Torah. And so, because he is the Torah, he is the living Torah. Okay. It says, but Yahusha did not commit himself to them because he knew all men, and he had no need that anyone should testify of man, for he knew what was in man. And I mean, so if you look at the scripture, it says that a man's heart is deceitfully wicked, and so he knows who, he knows how people are. He's living here on earth, and he was tempted just as we are, but yet he didn't sin, and we do practically every day. So anyway, okay, so going on to chapter 3. And there was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Yahudim. This man came to Yeshua at night and said to him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher come from Yahuwah, for no one can do these signs that you do unless Yahuwah is with him. So here Nicodemus is recognizing that he is something special. And again, they call him rabbi. And I'll just say that the word rabbi means my great one. A rab in Hebrew means great. And when you have rabbi, then, that's my great one. So that's what that literally means. And Yahusha answered and said to him, Most assuredly I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Yahuwah. And Nicodemus said to him, How can a man be born? He is old. Can he enter a second time into his mother's womb and be born? And Yahusha answered, said, Most assuredly I say to you, unless one is born of water and the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of Yahuwah. Okay, now I want to stop right there. Okay, so being born of the water, we know is our physical birth. And we know that the word spirit, if you go back and look at the biblical definition of the word spirit, it's going to take you right to, I believe it's Romans 7:14, if I'm not mistaken. It says that, we know that the word is spirit, the spiritual. Okay, so here is being born of water and also being born of the Torah. In other words, to be born of the Spirit, then that literally means that you're following Torah. Well, that is the second birth. It's realizing that the Torah, which also is the living Torah, is Yahusha, but at the same time, the written Torah, he is the living Torah. So to be born again means to be you have to be born of the water, born physically, and born of the Spirit means to be born into being Torah obedient. Okay, and so that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Do not marvel that I said to you, you must be born again. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear the sound of it, but cannot tell where it comes from and where it goes. So is everyone who is born of the Spirit. Now, here, when it talks about the wind, one of the things this is just another thing about the Hebrew, I guess, is that when you see the word wind, the wind is ruach. Well, it's the same word for spirit. And so the word ruach can mean wind or spirit. And so looking at Hebrew, it makes comparisons. And the comparison is you can't see the wind. You can't see the spirit. Okay. So it blows, it goes wherever it wants. And you can see reactions, or you can see evidence of the wind by leaves blowing and things of that nature. And you can see evidence of the spirit, ruach, moving in people, because when the ruach moves, it's going to lead you in the direction of the Torah and Yahusha. And so if the ruach doesn't lead you in that direction, then it's not the ruach of Yahuwah. And so if it doesn't lead you into following the Torah, into being Torah obedient and having Yahusha as the Messiah, then it's not the ruach of Yahuwah. Okay, so here again, Nicodemus answered and said to him, "How can these things be?" And Yahusha answered and said to him, "Are you a teacher of Israel and do not know these things? Most assuredly, I say to you, we speak what we know and testify what we've seen, and you do not receive our witness." Now, here he's scolding these teachers, or these Pharisees, I guess. It says, "You're a teacher of Israel and do not know these things." So one of the things that at this particular time, a lot of the rabbis or leaders of the Sanhedrin, or the Pharisees, were there because they were put there by the Roman army, not because they were Levites. And so they were not legitimate priests to begin with. And there was a lot of corruption in the leadership group at that time. Let's see, we got Miss Alice is trying to join. Hey, Miss Alice. We're in John right now, and we'll go ahead and so anyway, there was a lot of corruption in the leadership of the Jews at this particular time, and so here they didn't know they didn't know what he was talking about.
Okay, there it is.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, in verse 13 in John chapter 2, it says, "No one has ascended to heaven but he who came down from heaven, that is the Son of Man who is in heaven." Now, the word heaven, I want to just kind of chase this little rabbit so you'll know. The word heaven in Hebrew is shamayim. Okay, the word shah is salvation. The word ma'im is water. So when you see the word heaven, it literally means the saving water. So in the beginning, when Yahuwah separated the lower water from the upper water, then the lower water was below, the upper water was in the heaven, and anyway, that water is the saving water, or the water of salvation. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Okay, verse 14, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. Now, again, this whosoever believes in him. Okay, if you believe, then you will hear and obey. You will hear what he teaches, what he taught, and you will do. So you can't just have a head knowledge in this. You have to hear and obey. So to have everlasting life, it is Shema, hear and obey. And so verse 16, it says, for Yahuwah so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes, again, hears and obey in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For Yahuwah did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Okay. He who believes in him is not condemned. Again, he who hears and obeys him is not condemned. But he who does not hear and obey is condemned already, because he has not heard and obeyed in the name of the only begotten Son of Yahuwah. Now here's, something that I want to just throw out there. To believe in his name. Well, most of the people, I've never been in a church service, and I've been in the Baptist church for over 30 years, and I never heard his true name. I mean, it was always Jesus. And I'm not going to condemn the ones that want to say Jesus, but I will tell you that's not his name. That's a brand new name that's probably less than 300-400 years old. His name is Yahusha. And so, how can you read the scripture and, look at this scripture where it says that believe in his name and not even know his name? Anyway, it's just, to me, it's awful. It's just very deceptive. And this is the condemnation, that the light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil. Now, this light, again, is the light of Yahusha, and so it's his Shekinah glory. It's the glory that comes from him. And it says, for everyone practicing evil hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his deeds should be exposed. But he who does the truth comes to the light, that his deeds might be clearly seen, that they have been done in Yahuwah. Okay, now again, the word truth there in verse 21, it says, but he who does the truth. Again, if you go back and look at Psalms 119, and it's
verse 142, I believe.
Yep, I believe that's right. 142 and 151, I think, or something like that. Let's see. It's Psalm 119, 142, and 151. It says that, the word is truth, or the commandments is truth. So again, he who does the commandments comes to the light, that his deeds might be clearly seen, that they have been done in Yahuwah. Okay. It says, after these things, Yahusha and his disciples came into the land of Judea. Again, now this, I just want to bring this up, this word Judea right here. Okay, it's Yahuda. Again, so if you look at the name Yahuda, and if you remove the Dalet, it's Yahuwah. So his name is in the country of Judah, or Judea. And there he remained with them and baptized. Now John was also baptizing in Ayin. Okay, this word here is a Hebrew word. It's Ayin, which means the eye, near Salem, because there was much water there, and they came and were baptized, for John had not yet been thrown into prison. Then there arose a dispute between some of John's disciples and the Jews about purification. And they came to John and said to him, Rabbi, he who was with you beyond the Jordan, to whom you have testified, behold, he is baptizing, and all are coming to him. So now the disciples are complaining, I guess, because they see that John the Baptist is out there baptizing, and I guess they're not quite understanding. And it says, John answered and said, a man can receive nothing unless it's been given to him from the Shamayim, or the heaven. You yourselves bear me witness that I said, I am not the Christ or the Messiah, but I have been sent before him. He who has the bride is the bridegroom. But the friend of the bridegroom who stands and hears him rejoices greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. Therefore, this joy of mine is fulfilled. He must increase, but I must decrease. He who comes from above is above all. He who is of the earth is earthly and speaks of the earth. He who comes from heaven is above all. Now here, he's just explaining that Yahusha is, he is the from heaven, he is above all, and so he's explaining that he's much greater than John is. And it says, and what he has seen and heard, that he testifies, and no one receives his testimony. He who has received his testimony has certified that Yahuwah is true, that Yahuwah is of the Torah. For he whom Yahuwah has sent speaks the words of Yahuwah. So it's talking about Yahusha speaks the word. He is the word of Yahuwah. For Yahuwah does not give the Spirit by measure. He gives, we get the whole Torah. Okay? For the Father loves the Son and has given us all into his hand. He who believes in the Son has everlasting life, and he who does not believe, hear and obey, the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of Yahuwah abide on him. Okay, so we're running out of time again, and so we're going to have to wrap this up here pretty quick, I guess. So anyway, here he's letting the Talmudim, or the disciples, letting them know that that what John is doing, he's doing, because that he was ordained to do that. So so anyway, it is, I guess, is there any questions or anything before we wrap this up? Okay. Well, the studies here tonight, there's not a whole lot of extra stuff in them. It's just more from a history standpoint. But we'll be getting into some stuff, I guess, in the next study or two. But I guess tomorrow on the Sabbath, we'll try to get together and broadcast again so others can see. All right. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and shut this down, and we'll, I guess, see y'all in the morning on the Sabbath. Y'all have a good night.
Sounds good.
All right.
Good night. I'll see you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
10 a.m. Central.
Oh, so now it's showing me.
Is it?